What if I told you that one of the most entertaining crime films of the 2000s is actually about divorce trauma? That beneath the stylish cons and cat and mouse chases, Catch Me If You Can is Steven Spielberg's meditation on abandonment and the American dream. Today, we're diving into this 2002 masterpiece, a film that pretends to be a breezy caper while secretly being one of the most emotionally complex movies in Spielberg's entire catalog. The film opens with Frank Abagnale Jr. on To Tell the Truth, three men claiming to be the same person. This isn't just a clever intro. Spielberg is telling us from frame one that identity will be fluid, that performance and reality are inseparable. The entire film is about masks, and the opening literally shows us three people wearing the mask of Frank Abagnale. Here is what's brilliant. We now know many of the real Abagnale's claims are questionable or outright false, but that makes the film more interesting, not less. It becomes a con about a con about a con, perfectly mirroring its themes about performance and truth in American society. Pay close attention to DiCaprio's body language throughout the film. In uniform, he is all confidence. Shoulders back, voice deep, movements precise. But catch him off guard, and you see the scared kid underneath. His shoulders slump, his voice cracks, his eyes dart nervously. The masterclass moment? The Christmas Eve phone call to Hanks. Carl's making small talk, trying to keep Frank on the line long enough to trace the call. But then it hits him. Frank is calling because he has nobody else. It is Christmas Eve, and this FBI agent hunting him is the closest thing Frank has to family. Watch DiCaprio's face when he realizes Carl has figured this out. That moment of raw vulnerability, before the mask slams back down and he hangs up in terror. This isn't just great acting. It's a complete understanding that Frank's cons aren't about money. They're about a boy desperate for connection, even if it's with the men trying to catch him. Frank has two fathers in this film. His biological father, who fails him, and Carl Hanratty, who saves him. Christopher Walken plays Frank Sr. as a man destroyed by the death of the American dream. His small-time schemes and glad-handling personality are obsolete in corporate 1960s America. When the IRS investigates him, when his wife leaves for his friend, we are watching a certain kind of American masculinity die. Every con Frank Jr. pulls is an attempt to succeed where his father failed. Every fake check is a small victory against the system that destroyed his dad. The tragedy? Even with a Cadillac and expensive suits, Frank Sr. can't get his wife back. When Frank tries to give him these gifts, his father won't accept them. He loves his son, but can't accept what these gifts represent. Tom Hanks plays Carl as the father Frank needs. Structured, principled, but ultimately caring. Their relationship is the film's emotional spine. It starts as cat and mouse, but evolves into genuine connection. When Carl finally catches Frank, Tom Hanks plays the moment with triumph, sadness, and something like regret. He caught a criminal, but also a lost kid who reminds him of the daughter he barely sees. The film's most devastating scene isn't a chase. It's young Frank being asked to choose between his mom and his dad. Spielberg holds on DiCaprio's face as his world collapses. This is the moment Frank Abagnale Jr. dies, and Frank the con artist is born. Every single con that follows is Frank trying to rebuild his broken family. The pilot uniform isn't just a disguise. It's armor against a world that stopped making sense when his parents split. The film's most heartbreaking moment comes when Frank, fleeing from the police, runs to his mother's new home, only to glimpse through the window a scene that destroys him. His mother, with a small daughter he never knew existed, celebrating the holidays with her new husband. A complete family. A replacement family. He stands in the cold darkness, watching the warm light inside, literally on the outside looking in. She hasn't just moved on, she's built an entire new life, a new family that has no space for him. The entire film is about a child trying to con his way back to a family that no longer exists. Spielberg and cinematographer Janusz Kaminski shot the film with a slightly desaturated palette that makes everything feel like a memory or dream. Frank constantly moves through liminal spaces: airports, hotels, hospitals. These are transition zones where identity is fluid, where you can be anyone. The film understands that uniforms are about trust. We trust pilots, doctors, lawyers because of what they wear, not who they are. The repeated shots of Frank putting on uniforms in mirrors aren't just costume changes. They are identity transformations. What is the film really saying? That American capitalism itself is a con game, where appearance matters more than reality, where the right suit opens any door. Frank succeeds because 1960s America is built on institutional trust. If you look like a pilot, you must be one. Every successful con reveals the fragility of the system. This film was released the same year as Minority Report. Both are about systems of control and individuals trying to escape them. This duality, populist entertainment with psychological complexity, defines Spielberg's genius. John Williams abandons his usual orchestral approach for a jazz-influenced score that captures both the period and Frank's improvisational cons. The music shifts perspective, playful when we are with Frank, methodical when following Carl. It literally tracks who is winning. The production design by Janine Opval creates a 1960s that feels both authentic and heightened. The glamorous airports and planes represent Frank's aspirational fantasy. The cramped motel rooms show his reality. When Frank joins the FBI at the end, the fluorescent lit offices tell us his accepted adult responsibility. The emotional climax isn't Frank's capture, but learning of his father's death. All his cons were letters to a father who could no longer receive them. DiCaprio's breakdown on the plane is devastating. There is nowhere left to run, because the person he was running both from and toward is gone. The ending, Frank working for the FBI under Carl's supervision, is both hopeful and melancholic. He has found a legitimate father figure and purpose, but he's traded freedom for stability, the open sky for an office. It's maturity, but also a kind of death. The final scene shows Frank and Carl discussing how to catch someone stealing checks from mailboxes. Frank using his knowledge to catch others like him. He is still that same boy in their apartment, trying to find a way to have both parents, both lives. He has stopped running from something and started running toward another thing. But he is still running. 20 years later, Catch Me If You Can feels more relevant than ever. We live in an age where everyone performs identity online, where the line between authentic and constructed self has dissolved. We are all Frank Abagnale now, creating versions of ourselves we hope will be accepted, valued, and loved. The film's genius is making us complicit in Frank's cons. We want him to succeed, to keep flying. When Carl catches him, we feel loss as much as relief. The adventure is over. The performance ended. What lingers isn't the clever cons or period style. It's the image of a lonely boy in a pilot's uniform, trying to fly away from pain that follows everywhere. It's his voice on Christmas Eve, reaching out for connection. It's the moment he realizes the only person he really needed to catch was himself. Spielberg created something that transcends genre, a meditation on identity itself, on the elaborate lengths humans go to avoid confronting pain, on the stories we tell to survive. It reminds us we are all performers, all forgers, creating versions of ourselves, all running. The question is whether we are running towards something or away from something. That is why Catch Me If You Can endures, not as a con artist story, but as our story. Performers trying to convince ourselves we belong, that if someone just catches us, we promise we will stop running.